Your future doesn't look blank because you're lost. It looks blank because the version of you that used to navigate your life no longer exists, and the new one hasn't fully arrived yet. That gap, that strange hollow in-between, where nothing feels right, where familiar things feel foreign, where you don't recognize yourself in the mirror of your own choices, that is not a breakdown. That is the most precise moment of transformation the universe can put you through. In this video, you're going to understand what is actually happening to you right now, spiritually, energetically, at the level of your identity itself. And at the very end, I'm going to show you what quietly emerges on the other side of this collapse. Because what comes next is not a return to who you were. It's the first real meeting with who you've always been. There's a particular kind of disorientation that doesn't show up on any medical chart. It's not depression. It's not burnout. It's not even sadness exactly. It's the feeling that the life you've been living, the one you carefully built, the relationships you chose, the version of yourself you performed every single day, has started to feel like a costume that no longer fits. And the terrifying part isn't the discomfort. The terrifying part is that you don't know who you are without it. Maybe you've been waking up and going through the motions, but something underneath has gone completely still. Like a frequency that used to hum inside you has paused. Maybe the things that used to excite you feel hollow. The goals that once drove you feel borrowed from someone else's life. The people around you feel close in distance but far away in depth. And somewhere, quietly, a question has been circling you, not loud enough to scream, but persistent enough to keep you awake at 3 a.m. Is this really it? Is this really who I am? If any part of that resonates, you are not losing your mind. You are not falling apart. You are losing a version of yourself that was never meant to be permanent. And that loss, as disorienting as it feels, is not random. It has a structure, it has a meaning, and it has a direction. In this video, we're going to walk through 3 things together. First, the invisible symptom, what you're actually feeling and why it's so hard to name. Second, what this means spiritually, the deeper recalibration happening beneath the surface of your life, at the level of your identity, your frequency, your soul's trajectory. And third, what is born after the collapse, not a return to who you were, but the quiet, unmistakable arrival of who you've always been underneath everything. This is not a video about fixing yourself. This is a video about finally understanding what's happening to you, so you can stop fighting the process and start trusting it. Let's start with the symptom, because before you can understand what's happening, you have to be able to see it clearly. And this particular symptom is invisible, not because it isn't real, but because the world around you has no language for it. It doesn't look like a crisis from the outside. You're still showing up, still functioning, still answering messages, making coffee, getting through the day. But on the inside, something has fundamentally shifted. You might notice it in small, strange ways. A song that used to move you now feels like it belongs to someone else's life. A dream you've carried for years suddenly feels unfamiliar in your hands, like you picked up the wrong luggage at an airport. Conversations that once felt meaningful now skim the surface of something you can't quite name. And underneath all of it, this quiet, persistent sense that you are between something, not here, not there, just suspended. In psychology, they sometimes call this a liminal state, from the Latin word limen, meaning threshold, the space between what was and what hasn't yet arrived. But this isn't just a psychological concept. This is a lived, physical, emotional experience. And if you're in it right now, you know exactly how disorienting it feels. Here's what most people do when they arrive at this threshold. They panic. They try to rush back to the familiar, to the old relationship, the old job, the old version of themselves, because at least that version felt certain At least that life had edges they could hold on to, or they push forward desperately, forcing decisions, forcing clarity, forcing a new identity into existence before it's ready. And both of those responses, as human as they are, miss the point entirely. Because the invisible symptom you're experiencing isn't a problem to be solved. It's a signal. It's your system, your nervous system, your energetic field, your deeper self, communicating something that your conscious mind hasn't fully received yet. Think of it this way. When a caterpillar begins its transformation inside the chrysalis, something remarkable happens. Its body doesn't simply grow wings, it actually dissolves, almost entirely. The cells that made up the caterpillar break down into what biologists call an imaginal soup, a formless liquid state, before they reorganize into something completely new. For a period of time, the caterpillar is neither what it was nor what it will become. It is in the dissolving, and that is exactly where you are right now. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not losing your path. You are in the dissolving, and the dissolving is necessary. The blankness you feel when you try to picture your future isn't the absence of a future. It's the absence of the old map you've been using to navigate. The map that fit a version of you that is no longer fully alive inside you. And here is the thing about maps. When you outgrow one, the territory doesn't disappear. The territory is still there, vast, real, full of possibility. You simply can't navigate it with a map drawn for someone you used to be. A new map is being drawn right now, inside you, in the quiet. And the confusion you feel isn't a malfunction, it's the cartography. Before I show you what this means at a deeper level, spiritually, energetically, I want you to sit with one thought for just a moment. What if the blankness isn't the end of your story? What if it's the first blank page of the one that was always meant to be written? We'll explore that together in the next part of this journey. Now let's go deeper. Because what you're experiencing isn't just emotional, it isn't just psychological. At a level, most people never think to look at what's happening to you right now has a structure, a quantum structure, that explains everything. Stay with me here. I'm not going to make this complicated. I'm going to make it clear. In quantum physics, there's a concept called the collapse of the wave function. Here's what it means in simple terms. Before a particle is observed, it exists in a state of pure potential. It isn't in one place. It's in all possible places simultaneously. A field of infinite possibility, vibrating, open, unresolved. The moment it's observed, the moment a choice is made, a direction is taken, all those possibilities collapse into one. One reality, one path, one particle in one specific location. Now here's what nobody tells you about your own life. You are not just a physical being moving through time in a straight line. You are a field of consciousness, and at every significant turning point in your life, you are experiencing your own version of that quantum collapse. The identity you built over the last few years, that was a collapsed version of you, one specific expression of a much larger field of potential that you carry inside you. And when that identity starts to dissolve, when the old self starts to feel hollow, when the future goes blank, when nothing fits anymore, what's actually happening is that the collapse is reversing. You are returning to the field, to potential, to openness, to the unresolved, vibrating space of who you could become. And yes, that feels terrifying, because human beings are wired for certainty, for edges, for the familiar weight of a defined self. But your higher self, that deeper intelligence within you that operates beyond the noise of daily life, beyond fear, beyond conditioning, your higher self is not terrified. It's been waiting for this moment. Think of your higher self not as something mystical and distant, but as the most coherent, most awake version of you that already exists. Not in the future, now. Vibrating at a frequency that your current self is just beginning to tune into. And here's what's fascinating. The reason your future looks blank right now isn't because your higher self doesn't know where you're going. It's because it does. And the path it sees, the life it's already navigating on a higher frequency, doesn't match the map your old identity was holding. So the blank is actually a clearing. The universe isn't withholding your future from you. It's clearing the frequency interference. All the old beliefs, the borrowed identities, the fear-based decisions, the relationships and habits that kept you anchored to a version of yourself that your soul has already outgrown. This is what spiritual teachers across centuries have pointed at, each in their own language: the dark night of the soul, the void, the wilderness, the dissolution. Every tradition that has ever taken human transformation seriously has recognized this phase, this necessary, disorienting, sacred emptiness that arrives before a new self can take root. And quantum consciousness gives us a new language for it. You are between timelines. The timeline built around your old identity has reached its natural completion. And the new one, the one aligned with who you are actually becoming, hasn't fully materialized in your physical experience yet. But here's what I need you to understand, because this might be the most important thing in this entire video. The new timeline already exists, not as a future possibility, as a present reality, vibrating at a frequency just slightly above where you currently are. Your higher self is already there, already living it, already whole. The only thing separating you from it is the frequency you're broadcasting right now. And that frequency is being recalibrated in real time, through every moment of confusion, every release, every night you sit in the quiet and choose to trust the process instead of panic. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not lost, you are tuning, and soon, maybe sooner than you think, the signal will become clear. Before I show you how to actively align with that signal, I want to plant something in your mind right now. The next version of your life is not being built from the outside in. It's being broadcast from the inside out. And it began the moment your old self started to dissolve. So now you know what's happening. You're in the dissolving. You're between timelines. Your higher self is already on the other side of this threshold, holding the frequency of who you're becoming. But knowing that doesn't automatically make the disorientation easier to live inside. So let's talk about something practical, not a 5-step system, not a morning routine that promises to fix your identity crisis by Thursday. Something quieter than that, something that actually works at the level where this transformation is happening. Because here's the thing most people miss when they're in this phase. They try to think their way into the new version of themselves. They journal obsessively. They consume content. They take courses. They make lists of who they want to become and then wonder why nothing shifts. They treat the new identity like a project to be managed and then feel like failures when the blankness persists. But alignment doesn't happen through the mind. It happens through the body, through stillness, through presence, through the small, consistent choice to stop resisting the dissolving and start moving with it. Here's what that actually looks like. The first thing, and this might sound counterintuitive, is to stop trying to figure out where you're going, not forever, just for now. Your mind wants a destination. It wants coordinates, a plan, a clear image of the next version of your life so it can feel safe. But your higher self doesn't communicate in coordinates. It communicates in resonance. It speaks through the things that still light you up, even when everything else feels hollow. Through the moments that feel inexplicably right, even when they don't make logical sense. Through the synchronicities, those strange, precise, impossible to dismiss moments when the universe seems to be winking at you directly. Those are not coincidences. Those are signals from the timeline you're moving toward, leaking backward into your present moment. When you notice them, pause. Don't analyze them. Don't try to build a map out of them immediately. Just acknowledge them. Let them land. Say to yourself, even silently, I see you, I'm listening. That acknowledgement is not passive. It's a frequency adjustment. It tells your field, your consciousness, your energetic body, that you are open, that you are tuned toward the signal instead of the noise. The second thing is to practice what I call identity grief, and I use the word grief intentionally, because what you're experiencing deserves that word. You are mourning a version of yourself, a self that worked hard, that had a story, that had familiar patterns and known edges. Even if that version of you was limiting, even if it was keeping you small, it was yours. And losing it is a real loss. Most people in this phase feel guilty for grieving. They think, but I want to grow, I want to change. Why does it hurt so much? It hurts because it's real, because you cared, because that version of you did its best with what it had. Let yourself grieve it, not forever, but fully. Cry if you need to cry, sit in the sadness, write a letter to the version of you that is passing. Thank it. Release it with love instead of rejection. Because here's what happens when you grieve consciously rather than suppress. You stop dragging the old identity into the new timeline. You stop unconsciously recreating the same patterns in new circumstances because you're still clinging to a self that needed those patterns. You free up energy, enormous amounts of energy. Energy that was being used to hold the old structure together suddenly becomes available for the new one. And the third thing, perhaps the most important of all, is this. Start making small choices from the new frequency, even before you can see the full picture. You don't need the complete map. You don't need to know the destination. You just need to ask yourself in each small moment, does this feel like expansion or contraction? Not comfort, not certainty. Expansion, the new version of you that your higher self is already living. That version isn't afraid of uncertainty. It's made of it. It moves through open space with curiosity instead of dread. It treats the unknown not as a threat, but as the raw material of a life not yet imagined. Every time you choose expansion over contraction, even in a tiny way, even in one small decision, you are collapsing the wave function. You are calling one possibility out of the infinite field and making it real. You are not waiting for your new life to arrive. You are building its frequency, one aligned choice at a time. And the universe, that vast, intelligent, extraordinarily patient force that has been arranging your entire life toward this moment, is already responding. We've traveled far together in this video. You understand the invisible symptom now. You understand the quantum structure of what's happening inside you. You've been given tools to move with the dissolving instead of against it. But I want to close this part of our journey with something different. Not more explanation, not more framework. I want to invite you into a reflection, a quiet, honest moment with yourself. Because the most important insights in a transformation like this one don't come from a screen. They come from the stillness that a screen can sometimes point you toward. So if you can, take one slow breath right now. Not metaphorically. Actually breathe. Feel the weight of your body wherever you're sitting. Feel the ground beneath you. Solid, present, holding you without asking anything in return. You are here, in this moment. Which means every version of you that survived to reach this point did exactly what it needed to do. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to let the answer come from somewhere deeper than your thoughts. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Before the expectations? Before the roles you stepped into because they were available, because they were safe, because someone needed you to fill them? Before the years of becoming what made sense on paper? Who was there underneath all of that? You don't have to answer with words. You might feel it as a sensation, a warmth, a tightness, a sudden inexplicable emotion rising from somewhere you forgot existed. That feeling is not nostalgia. That feeling is recognition. It's the part of you that never actually dissolved. The core self, the soul thread that runs through every version of you that has ever existed, recognizing that it is finally being seen again. Here's what I've come to understand about what is born after a collapse like this. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't arrive with fanfare or revelation or a sudden certainty that floods your entire life with meaning in a single afternoon. It arrives quietly, in a morning where you wake up and the heaviness feels, just slightly, lighter than the day before. In a conversation where you say something honest that you would have swallowed 6 months ago. In a moment where you catch yourself laughing, really laughing, and realize that something in you is still completely, irreducibly alive. What is born after the collapse is not a new you. It's the original you, the one that existed before all the layering, before all the performing, before all the surviving, finally finding enough space to breathe. And that version of you is not tentative. It is not fragile. It does not need external validation to know its own worth. It moves differently. It chooses differently. It relates to time differently, not as a race to be won, but as a field to be inhabited, fully, with presence and intention. It knows things the old version of you only suspected. It knows that the relationships worth having are the ones where you don't have to shrink. It knows that the path worth walking is the one that asks more of you, not less. It knows that the universe is not indifferent to your becoming. It is in your becoming. It always has been. And here is the truth that I want to leave with you from this reflection. The blankness you've been afraid of, that white, formless, terrifying absence where your future used to be, is not an empty wall. It is a canvas. And the version of you that is emerging from this collapse, slowly, quietly, with a kind of unshakable rootedness that your old self never quite managed to find. That version of you already knows what to paint. You don't have to force it. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to earn it. You just have to stay. Stay present, stay open, stay honest with yourself about what is dying and what is being born. The universe does not make mistakes, and it did not make one with you. This phase, this exact disorienting, grief-soaked, quietly luminous phase, is not happening to you. It is happening for you, and the life waiting on the other side of it is more aligned with your soul than anything the old version of you could have designed. Trust the dissolving. Trust the canvas. Trust yourself. We started this video with one question. Why does my future look blank? And now you know. Not because you're lost, not because you failed, but because the version of you that used to navigate your life has already completed its purpose, and the new one is still becoming. The blank is not the absence of your future. It is the silence before your soul speaks in a language you've never heard yourself use before. Trust the dissolving. Trust the canvas. Trust that the universe does not make mistakes, and it did not make one with you. If this video touched something real in you, subscribe. This channel exists exactly for people living through this kind of transition. Leave a comment with the words, "I trust my new self." Writing it down anchors it. It tells the universe you're paying attention. And right now on your screen, the next chapter of this journey is waiting. Why everything familiar starts feeling foreign before your soul repositions. If your own life has been feeling strangely distant lately, your routines, your relationships, even your own reflection, that video was made for exactly that feeling. I'll see you there.